Shawn is the biggest heel and has the most heat, has the most hate, whatever you want to call it. So I just want to I think you did a good job just sort of level setting that. The rest of the card, this is worth mentioning. This is what Memphis got that night. 8 Ball beat D'Lo Brown. Brian Christopher beat Scott Taylor. Again, remember, we're in Memphis. Brian Christopher. Mark Henry beat the Spellbinder. Road Dogg and Billy Gunn beat the Headbangers. The Undertaker wrestled Rocky Maivia in a non-title match because Rocky Maivia is the Intercontinental Champion. This is before he's The Rock, and it's a casket match. And that's the last match before intermission. And when The Undertaker comes to the back, his ring outfit, he's complaining, is quote unquote soaked with spit. That's the report. So the fans are just fired up here. But after that, we get Mark Marrow and Flash Funk. We get Ken Shamrock and Phineas Godwin. And now here's the main event. Do you remember hearing that fans were spitting even at The Undertaker?
And look, again, who's his opponent?
Rocky Maivia.
And to me, he had a ton of heat on him. But the whole night as it built, again, a weekend show. I'm going back to beer flowing. Oh, this was another point I was going to make, Conrad, that I just think I'm going to do my best to explain it, but I think it is very, very important as a peek behind the curtain, just on how shows work. Memphis, Nashville, Louisville, Evansville, back in the weekly cadence, we knew the cops, I mean, by name. They'd walk us to the car, the heels to the car and all that. I mean, the in-house security, all this. When you roll into Memphis or Little Rock or any of these towns, especially in these days, we had maybe two, but one or two, no more than that, of our own security that would have a pre-show security meeting, which would mean talk to the police officers, then talk to the ushers and ticket takers, and then whatever the building, yellow shirts, red shirts, green shirts, whatever it was, just kind of that. Okay. So that is your kind of point of contact to say, hey guys, you don't come in and say, hey man, our business is hot. It's really hot. And Shawn just switched heel. Just did a big heel thing in Montreal, and he's our hot heel. We really got to be careful, but they're going to be, you just got to have to say, hey folks, here's the deal. Don't watch the matches, watch the crowd. Don't face, when you have security, just the do's and don'ts. Okay. These guys are hourly workers. Other than a uniformed police officer who does this day in, day out, most of the time, those guys, not only do they not give a shit, they don't really understand. Oh, wow. Okay. They think, oh, throwing a plastic cup, or they think, oh, that's cool. Yeah, we saw it at Bash of the Beach. Remember when Hogan did this? It's kind of just as things roll along. And so when you just kind of roll all this in and you're going, and you just mentioned it, and I think a big thing that went with Shawn and the Brett, and he's the hot heel, this was DX, the Attitude Era. They were brand new, and the things they were doing on TV were right appropriate for the time, if you will, shock TV. So, and Shawn, just, yes, he's the in-ring working ability is he has very, very few peers, if any. I've said that multiple times, but his ability to connect emotionally, heel or babyface, when he wants to ramp it up, that's why he's a pro's pro. He's like, all right, I'm gonna put a little gas on this. He absolutely is a ring general through and through and through. So he went out there in Memphis, and he had done his time in Memphis before and having a little fun. And I have a feeling Taker probably gave him the heads up, all this, but I don't think they were throwing crap at Taker. Maybe if one guy did it and they kind of dogpiled on and all this, but I think the heat originally started early in the night before the Taker match, whatever heel, Henry Godwin or whatever. But as the night rolled on, it became the end thing to do. Hey, let's throw stuff in the ring. Rocky comes out, and he's working right beside Taker, his opponent. They're just going to flood him with stuff. So, the report that, oh, Taker got destroyed, I just think is a half truth, much like, oh, it's a crappy show. No, 8 Ball and D-Lo didn't give 4 stars. So that's silly narrative. But there you go, Connie. Long-winded answer, but I apologize. But that was, I think, trying to give it complete full context.
No, I think you did a great job. The fans start throwing trash. They're spitting. Security's not saying anything because they think it's part of the show.
Yes.
And I know that sounds silly, but let's remember, as Jeff said, if these security guards have been watching wrestling, well, they've seen fans pelting the ring with garbage on WWF programming, certainly more times than we can count on WCW shows. In ECW, they were throwing chairs on more than one occasion. So it's maybe they think it's like a Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's interactive. We're supposed to throw popcorn at the movie screen or what have you. But this is not part of the plan for the boys. And so the Undertaker's pretty pissed off about being spit upon. And it's written here in the torch. Fans have started throwing garbage at Henry Godwin, who stood ringside for the semifinal. When he got backstage afterwards, he was so upset he began kicking at chairs in frustration at the lack of order in the arena. Of course, that was because Ken Shamrock was wrestling Phineas Godwin. So Henry's just on the outside as a second. And he's getting pelted with garbage, and security is doing nothing. They're not kicking anybody out. They're not taking any order. So I know the narrative has always been on, oh, Sean caused a riot. I kind of feel like the building is culpable here. Like whoever hired the security. Well, I don't know who hired security, so I can't say it was the building.
Yeah.
Whether it was the company or it was the building, these security guards were not doing their job. Fair to say?
Oh, 1,000%, but not on purpose. That's where, I mean, you know, to bring it up to modern time at AEW, we have no less than 4 to 6. Yeah, I'd say 6, maybe more at each show. And then they same type conversations, WWE the same. You have to give those conversations with the building and be very specific. Everybody's got a radio in their ear. You just kind of watch. And so once the toothpaste is out of the tube, by the time Henry Godwin got to the back and kicking chairs, he's about, I'd say, 90 minutes to 2 hours late for pitching a fit, because probably the first or second match when, oh, it's okay to throw stuff. Once that started and the fan didn't get ejected, then you almost are to the point of kind of gloves off. That was another thing that man, oh man, we got to have Lawler on here at one point, but thanking him because he, okay, I'll tell you a little story here. But Lawler taught me this. He's in Huntington, Tennessee, or any of the small little towns, and he's the baby face. And if there's the right people and whatever group it is, if they start to throw things at Lawler's heel, his opponent, he would, by design, kind of lock up with his opponent and all this. And he'd say, man, they're going to throw stuff. When they do, don't make a big deal about it. Walk over to the ref, whisper in his ear, tell the ref, and I'm going to go tell him. And then they'd call a security guy over. And then we kind of knew it. Eddie Marlin was a pro at it. You didn't make a big deal about it, but you kind of stopped the match. The heel would point at the guy that threw something, which would be the accurate guy. Eddie Marlin would come up to ringside. Referee would tell him who it was. They'd go over, and Eddie would make sure that he would march his guy from one side of the ring around ringside to the other, and he would walk him not out the back door, out the front door, and throw him out. That immediately, oh, shoot, there's your consequence. I can't throw it. That's kind of a old school trick that you probably can't do now, but I'm making my point that old Henry's bitching in the semi-main event. It was way too late. They'd have to throw half the arena out if they were going to do that. But that's how you cut it off early.
And to be clear, The Undertaker is not a heel. He's one of the biggest baby faces in the company at this point. So if he's getting spit on, the fans are just full tilt.
Yeah, and they're drunk. There's a group that look, yeah. But I still going to say maybe they kind of got into the vibe of it. But I'm going to say when Rocky Maivia's music hit, he's coming down that aisle. I can see him getting completely pelted. And so then Undertaker does his entrance. And remember, that's why I loved in Mexico. I could jump around and keep my eyes open and kind of be aware and be a moving target. Taker, God bless him, He's walking slow, methodical, stands up in the ring, tilts his head. I mean, if you're a half decent shot, you can hit him. And so your buddy sitting next to you, watch this, I'm going to get Taker's hat. You know, they just how it rolled. The 97 Riots